Hey, this is Crystal Beasley. I'm here today with Android Jones. He talks about Microdose, his trippy VR experience.
I'm Android Jones, and I live in Colorado, and I started a studio called Vision Agency, and we create a virtual reality experience called Microdose VR.
Lovely. I especially love Microdose just because it's incredibly fun. I love watching how people interact, and people make very big, beautiful motions in Microdose, and we just come out of it so happy. What do you do to create that?
Well, I think part of what the strategy was is we got into VR, we started thinking about, it's just this great canvas, let's just create any kind of experience. What's the most valuable kind of experience that we had in our lives? And for me and the small group that we started with, we all very creative kind of art backgrounds, worked on different projects, and it was really just getting to that core, that feeling, that special like flow state you get into when you're in touch with that, creative spark, and you follow that down the rabbit hole and you start, it can get, for me, it's probably some of the closest I've gotten to mystical, and I just use the word mystical as an overlay of like something that's beyond my comprehension and or vocabulary explanation. That's where I go, and that's what I kind of encounter. And so we really wanted to see, like, can we use this kind of opportunity to simulate that for people that have art backgrounds and especially people that don't have any kind of art background. And so part of what we tried to focus on to make it fun was to kind of dissect analytically the conditions that create a flow state and the conditions that, more importantly, impede on the flow state. So some of those things are, if there's any record of what you're doing, that's going to create this future expectation of yourself being happy or sad about that record. So there's no saving, no undo, nothing you are creating is going to leave any type of residue that you're going to be like judged or admired by, and just really keeping in that kind of like that idea of like the yoga, like the being in action. So it's kind of like an avatar type of yogic experience, and just focusing on that and making the experience as compelling as possible with music and visuals and particles and effects and all the beautiful things that we use the Unreal Engine can create. And a little proof of concept, and it just kind of started fun, and we've just been trying to create something that has one aspect that can be not just fun for the sake of idle fancy, but still has an aspect of something like meaningful to it, and meaningful being just being in the moment and all the different types of chemicals and endorphins that are released inside of the brain when you're in a creative flow state. I think those are really valuable, healthy things to encourage in people.
I totally agree. I think the decision not to include a gallery or a save and making it ephemeral totally changes the experience.
I think it's just that another exciting aspect about working in a field that doesn't have a lot of boundaries, isn't established yet, is that there's no one to hold yourself or compare yourself against. Like there's a lot of amazing musicians, and if I start a musical career now, I'm going to suck for a really long time before I'm good. A lot of people just give up out of feeling so intimidated by rising to the standard that's been set. And so when you have a new playing field, it's a level playing field where everybody, right now there's no wrong way to microdose. And I find that really, it just gets rid of a lot of people's inhibitions that they'd have towards any kind of new creative field and the risks and rewards associated with it.
Yeah, I think it's really important that we move away from this idea that there are good artists and you're not one, so you shouldn't have a creative outlet.
Yeah.
It's very unhealthy. I'm going to talk a little bit about the space that we're in. We are in Airstream by Digital Rain. Can you tell us about your involvement with them?
I've known James for many years, going back into his days working with the Burning Man project and the org. And usually always, whenever he calls me, as some type of interesting call to creative adventure or action. And so it's, the most recent time we interacted was he held a VR retreat at Esalen, which is a very unique place.
That just sounds awesome.
And it's a very unique event at a very unique place, and so that was fun. Those are some stories.
So tell people what Digital Rain is for everybody that doesn't yet know, because they should know.
I would ask that question of you guys too. I know that it is, from my limited understanding, it seems like it is a group of. What is James? He's a venture catalyst. I think that's kind of a good way of, kind of setting the stage. But I think it's a group of motivated individuals that are really passionate and excited about art and technology and the new opportunities. And it seems like they are working hard to kind of be the connection point between all the different isolated people in the industry that are specializing in unique facets. And I think what Digital Rain did really great at Esalen is they brought a lot of different people together that may never have, crossed each other's Venn diagram, and kind of said, hey, this is a really unreasonable thing in a faraway place, and we're just going to do this, and if you build it, they will come kind of philosophy. So I respect people that take that kind of bold action towards a future that they want to see and want to create.
Absolutely. I think there's a little too much dystopia. We need something positive to orient to instead of seeing so much sadness in the world. Do you have any favorite stories from that retreat?
One thing that was really cool, I had a lot going on that week, and it was really difficult to feel like, do I have time to go to Esalen and go to a VR retreat? And it was almost such a ridiculous thing that was just like, do I have time not to go to Esalen and a VR retreat? So there's a lot of debating, kind of like the inner minds, kind of like juggling and like preemptively either justifying and or regretting the decision that you're making at the same time. I'm sure no one else thinks like that.
Oh, no, that never happens to me.
So as I was driving down, I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to get into VR mode. And I started listening to some podcast that it was a podcast that I stumbled upon just by going on iTunes and just searching VR. Like, I wonder if people are doing VR podcasts. And I found this really interesting podcast called Enter VR, and that I'd never seen advertised. I'd never seen it on any kind of social media, and it had kind of a neat kind of like a thumbnail, and I started listening to it. It was this guy, Chris Miranda, was the podcaster, and he just had a really, I liked the cut of his jib and his perspective. It was a very no-nonsense, kind of no-hold-bars take of his podcast style, and I think I listened to maybe 3 hours of him doing these interviews and really enjoying the content that he was creating on my drive down. And when I got to my little room, and I kind of put my things down, and I was in a room there's bunk beds, and there's 4 people, I guess, in the bunks, and there was this gentleman that was kind of sitting at the desk, and I asked him what his name was. His name was Chris, and just the way he said it, I could hear it. I'm like, Chris Miranda? And he's like, you're Android Jones? And we just had this just little cool sort of buddy, there's a mutual appreciation for what each other did. And I was like, okay, this is probably going to be a good event if it just starts off meeting the guy I was randomly listening to on the way there. So that was kind of I think it's important to try to be aware of auspicious moments and auspicious things that happen and try to follow those when
Absolutely.
you can. Yeah.
They let you know that you're in the right place at least.
or the meaning-making machine of my mind makes up that meaning that I am in the right place. It's great.
Still feels good.
It feels good, right?
So, next to last question, where can people keep up with your work or see it?
I participate pretty heavily or have been into the kind of live music festival circuit. We're kind of on a little mini tour right now. We just drove straight from Lightning in a Bottle here, and we're going to be doing some larger installations at Burning Man and Symbiosis.
Are you doing any dome stuff this year?
Dome stuff, yes. We're doing more dome stuff. We're doing a big, I'm going to have an installation I think in 2018, at the Smithsonian. We're doing kind of an art and Burning Man dome VR thing out there. And I think I reluctantly update my social media pages every so often. I've got the Android Jones and Microdose VR. We try to post what's coming up. We usually can barely keep up with it. So if it's not what we're doing, it's kind of a piecemeal collage of the things that we did do. But
Lovely.
Got a newsletter, stuff like that. I don't tweet. I'm a horrible speller, so I don't tweet. But
okay, so Facebook and the newsletter. That sounds
Yeah.
great. I'll put some links into the show notes so
Great.
people can find you.
Super.
And lastly, what do you believe is true but you can't prove it yet?
You know, I believe that truth is true. Like, I believe that it's a combination of, like, what do I believe, what do I want to believe. Like, I want to believe that there is some type of, I don't think everything falls under this category, and that would be difficult if it did, but I feel like I want to believe that there are some, like, absolute truths within the universe, like some rules, some fundamental rules that govern the dynamic of human consciousness that are as true on this planet as they are across the galaxy, and have been and ever will be, just something like that. And I don't even know why I want to believe that, but it just makes, like, the emptiness of a vastness of space just a little bit more cohesive, you know. So, but I can't prove it. I can't even tell you what I think, something that's, like, absolutely true, but I think it's there. I don't know if I ever have access to it, but yeah, I want to think that there's real truth in the world that has that we have no say over whatsoever.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for coming
Thank you
on.
very much. Yeah.
Everything's okay, I'm just trying to act my age. Everything's okay.